knowing that the different dimensions that our wellness, it's kind of going to ebb and flow. We might have some ups and downs throughout our lives, but we want to try and pay attention to all of those throughout our lifetimes. And again, it is multidimensional, and knowing that as we work on one area, most likely other areas are going to be improved as well. So an example that I like to use is maybe you want to take a dance class. And I know right now during the pandemic might not be the best example, but maybe you're taking a dance class. That's going to help you work on social wellness. You're connecting with people, physical wellness. You're getting physically active. If it's a new dance that you're learning, it can also be intellectual wellness. So a lot of different ways that we can impact and improve our overall wellness just with one activity. So next question for you here. When you hear the word wellness, what does that mean to you? What comes to mind? Okay, peace. Happiness. Balance. Relaxation. Great, just being healthy overall. Oh, I see investment. That's an interesting one. Yeah, investing in your wellness, right? Spending that time, that energy, maybe financial investment into your wellness as well. Okay, great. Some great examples here. So these are all definitely aspects of wellness, and we'll go more specifically over what Gator Well promotes, like I said, those 9 dimensions in a second. Next thing to think about here is, what is graduate school? What might come to mind when you think about graduate school? Is it going to be a straight path, you know exactly where you're going, or is it going to be more of a maze or a labyrinth? Most likely it might, especially as you're starting out, it might feel a little more like the labyrinth, but we'll go over today some resources to support you in finding your way through that maze. And I know you've already probably heard about some other great resources as well. And ultimately, you're going to get to the end of that and you will get your degree and head out and do great things in areas that you're passionate about. So again, just kind of tying the two together, thinking about what wellness is, it's multidimensional, it's a lifelong process helping us live up to our potential. And you want to think about how you can maintain that balance, really pay attention to those things as you go through graduate school as well. So these are the 9 dimensions summed up pretty quickly, but I'm actually going to move on to other slides here and explain those different ones to you. And on each slide, there is going to be a list of strategies that can support you in developing that area of wellness. And then on the right-hand side are going to be campus resources. I will highlight a couple on each slide, but with 9 dimensions, it's a lot to get through, so I'm not going to go over all of them. So the first one here is intellectual wellness. This is something that you all are going to be working on as graduate students because it's learning about new things. It's having that curiosity about the world around you, being that lifelong learner, and just really trying to learn throughout your life. A couple of ways to work on this, maybe playing some brain games or doing like Sudoku or crosswords, something like that. Maybe taking a course that's not related to your major or a leisure course outside of your actual academic courses. And one that I will highlight here is going to be the Arts and Cultural Plaza, some great museums on campus and a lot of different ways to improve your intellectual wellness or work on that with some of these resources. Next one is occupational wellness. Overall, this is having satisfaction with the work that you're doing. So hopefully, and most likely, if you're pursuing a graduate degree, you have found something that you're really passionate and excited about. I know for me, my degree is in public health, master's in public health, and it's something that I'm definitely passionate about, and it was worth the effort and everything to do that. So occupational wellness is helping you find that and being able to focus on that, have the skills, the characteristics to be successful in those areas that you're so interested in. It's also about finding that balance between what you enjoy and also the work that you're doing. So making sure you have time to hang out with friends and family and still get the work done that you want to. One thing to highlight here is to potentially explore leadership opportunities on campus, either through student organizations or the Brown Center for Leadership and Service. They have some great resources for you there. And then I also want to highlight the Career Connection Center, another wonderful resource. They can help with interview prep, resume critiques and building. They have the career fair, so a lot of wonderful resources there as well. Next one is physical wellness. I think this is one that comes to mind often when we first hear the word wellness or health, and it is something that we want to make sure and focus on. It is about how we fuel our bodies. So if we're eating healthy food, drinking enough water, it's also how we get our bodies moving. And it's also an area where you want to keep in mind sleep, making sure you're getting enough sleep, and then making sure you're taking part in preventative or primary care screening. So are you going to the dentist, to the eye doctor, going in for your annual physicals, things along those lines. A couple strategies: make sure you're getting that flu shot, or when you're able to, the COVID-19 vaccine through the Student Healthcare Center, or just pay attention to UF Health as far as the COVID-19 vaccine, the processes and protocols with that. And one resource I want to highlight here is Rec Sports. They have 3 main areas on campus that can help you get active and get moving. There's the Southwest Rec Center over on Hull Road. There's the Student Rec and Fitness Center that's more centrally located on campus. And then there's also Lake Wahlberg, which is about 15 minutes south of town. And I really like to highlight that one because I think it's a pretty unique thing for a university to have a lake for students and faculty and staff to go to. And you're able to take up to 3 other guests with you to the lake, and there's canoeing and rock climbing and a lot of great things to do there. So definitely a good resource to check out. Next one here is emotional wellness. And this is really about being aware of your emotions and how you're processing things. And as you work on this awareness and building up your emotional wellness, you're also going to be building resiliency so that you're able to bounce back and cope with the things that occur in life. And one here I want to highlight a strategy is to practice gratitude. Just thinking about 1 or 2 things that you're grateful for at the end of the day that happened, and that can help build resiliency and increase your emotional wellness. And I want to highlight the Counseling and Wellness Center here with this area. I'll tell you more about their specific resources in a little bit. Next one is social wellness. This is one of my favorites. It's all about how we connect and relate with other people. And you can do this by getting involved on campus, like I was mentioning earlier, getting involved in a student organization, maybe checking out the Brown Center for Leadership and Service. And it's how you connect and relate with people in your life and also with your community. So finding ways to stay connected with people back home and maybe reaching out to the Student Activities and Involvement Department. They can help you get connected with the over 900 student organizations that we have here at UF and help you really find the best organization for you and what you're passionate about and interested in. Next one is spiritual wellness. This is being aware of and knowing your values and beliefs and being grounded in those, and also recognizing and identifying your meaning and purpose in your life and helping to define that through your values and beliefs. One way to work on this is to practice mindfulness, and there are some resources on campus to support you in doing that. One that I'll highlight is UF Mindfulness. That is a collaborative entity on campus. It includes faculty, staff, students, and even community members, just really trying to promote and create a more mindful campus. They offer a lot of free resources. They have a free class, so another great resource to check out for you. Next one here is environmental wellness. This, I'd like to remind students, it's about how you impact the environment. Are you using those reusable bags, reusable water bottles, trying to take shorter showers to save water? So it's how you impact the environment, but it's also how your environment impacts you. So maybe you have a noisy neighbor or a noisy roommate, and that impacts your sleep or your ability to study. Maybe there's light coming in that impacts your sleep, right? So considering the environment and how that might impact your wellness and your academic success can be really important. So I mentioned the example of maybe using reusable bags and water bottles. A resource I want to highlight here is the Office of Sustainability. Definitely a great one to look into and learn more about environmental wellness. Next one is financial wellness. This is satisfaction with your current financial state and finding that balance between, yes, buying what you need, but maybe not spending everything right away, having some money saved or having a plan for that, and really aiming to live within your means. So a strategy here is to create that budget and stick to it, especially as you're starting a new graduate program. You want to be aware of what finances, maybe scholarships or things you have coming in, what you're going to be spending as well, and trying to sort that out for yourself. And one resource I want to highlight here is the cash course. So this is a free course through UF that you can take, and just to learn more about financial wellness and managing your finances. Last one here is cultural wellness. This was a dimension we actually added last summer. Very excited to be able to add that into our dimensions. And it's really about creating and maintaining positive, inclusive environments and increasing awareness about your own identities, and then also respecting and learning about the identities of other people. And there are various ways to work on this, right? Maybe taking a class, exploring inclusion and diversity. And one resource I want to highlight here is Multicultural and Diversity Affairs. They put on some great events helping us learn about different identities and cultures, and also creating spaces for a lot of people to continue to learn and things. So that's the 9 dimensions pretty quickly, but I'm curious, next question for you here. I'm curious what area or areas of wellness are going well for you right now. So reflecting on the 9 dimensions, what area do you feel like is in pretty good shape? Cultural wellness. Okay. All right, so quite a few in social wellness so far. Some in spiritual wellness. Great, okay. I see one that says none. So hopefully from today, you'll get some tips as to how you can work on maybe improving on some of those areas, or at least identifying areas that you might want to start working on. Okay, great. All right, so I encourage you to, if you're doing something right now that's helping that go well for you, keep doing that and continue to explore strategies to help you do better in other areas as well. Next question here. What areas are maybe not going as well for you right now as you would hope? Financial wellness, yeah. Again, like I was saying, especially starting a new graduate program, sorting all of that out. Physical wellness, I think with the pandemic and things, I know for me, it's been much harder to get to focus on physical wellness. Okay. All right. So, so just as you increase awareness around maybe what's not going quite as well for you, you can also think about how you might want to work on that. If it's an area you want to improve in, what might be a small step that could help you make that improvement? And with the toolbox that we're going to be working on, hopefully we'll get some ideas. So again, that's a pretty quick review of the 9 dimensions of wellness, and just that reminder that overall, as we work on one area, other areas are going to be impacted. That's why we designed the dimension graphic this way, is that we know they're all connected and they all impact who we are as individuals. So now we are going to talk through a self-care or wellness toolbox. And I'm going to work on trying to, yeah, we will work on sharing that with you. I might try and share my screen so you can see what it looks like. But the idea of this toolbox is to take those areas of wellness, take wanting to do well in graduate school, and find things that you know work for you to turn to if or when stress comes up, or you just know you really want to focus on that wellness aspect, right? And as you're doing this, it can be an actual physical box that you put things in to help you focus on that wellness. So maybe it's an old shoe box, or it could be a cereal box that you decorate or something like that that you just have around the house. And in that box, you put things, again, that remind you to practice wellness and take care of yourself. Could be a stress ball, maybe it's some chocolate, maybe it's a book or a poem that you like to read. And so it can be physical things that fit in the box. It can also be ideas or things that don't fit in the box. So maybe, you know, going for a bike ride or going for a run is something that really helps you de-stress and work on your wellness. It's not going to fit in the box, but you can put the idea in there, maybe write it down, and make sure you have that reminder available if and when you need it. Overall, as you're thinking about making this toolbox for yourself, I do encourage you to remember what's worked for you. Remember what's working for you in those areas of wellness that are going well for you right now. Maybe including those in the box, like, okay, I've really been focused on sleep lately. I want to make sure and continue to do that, and think about what specific things are helping you do well with that. Maybe it's setting a specific bedtime, or a time to have a relaxing bedtime routine, right? So overall, remember what's worked for you. Know your resources. We're going to continue to review more of those as we go through the presentation today. And then don't be afraid to venture out and try new things, especially as you're in a new environment with graduate school. Try new things to help you focus on your wellness and continue to be as well as you can be. So we'll have that handout for you. We'll try and get that to you. So I want you to think about what's going to be in your toolbox. And to help you generate some ideas, I did want to go over some resources with you. So first, I'll focus on Gatorwell since I'm from Gatorwell. The first thing here is wellness coaching for academic success. Wellness coaching overall is about behavior change and supporting you in that behavior change process, because we know that behavior change can be pretty challenging. And so the way this works, it's generally a longer term commitment. So 4, maybe 5 sessions in a semester spread out throughout the semester. And you set goals with your wellness coach to work on different health behaviors. And so it's a one-on-one conversation with one of our certified health and wellness coaches. We have 5 now that are certified in our office. And so one-on-one conversation focusing on that behavior change, helping you set goals, and then helping you address any barriers that might come up in working on achieving those goals. So we talk with a lot of students around time and energy management, stress, sleep, study skills. Those are all things we can cover in wellness coaching. We also have mindfulness and sleep consultations. These are one-time 30-minute, sometimes 45 minutes, but usually 30-minute consultations that are really educational and informational in nature. And it's really just an opportunity to learn about those areas, maybe hear some tips that might work for you that you might want to implement to improve in those areas for yourself. Okay, so those are some of our main services that we provide with Gatorwell. With the Counseling and Wellness Center, I did want to highlight what they offer. Some of the main things that they offer are individual and group counseling. They also have workshops. They have some information around biofeedback, which is how you learn how your individual body responds to stress. And they launched a mental health in college podcast that came out or started in the summer. So pretty interesting podcast there for you to listen to as well. So again, a very valuable resource on campus. Definitely encourage you to reach out to them. I mentioned a bit earlier about the Student Healthcare Center. They're really your primary care provider on campus. So doctors, nurses, that flu shot I was talking about, really the physical wellness and medical side of things. You Matter, We Care is an organization that is designed to address distress in students or faculty and staff if they are experiencing distress. So if you find yourself, or if there is another Gator, a fellow Gator, that is experiencing distress, we definitely encourage you to reach out to You Matter, We Care, and they can help you get connected to resources that are appropriate for whatever might be going on. And then the next one is Rec Sports. I mentioned the different locations. I will highlight quickly here some of their virtual services that they're offering right now. They do have virtual fitness classes. They have some consultations that are virtual right now as well. And I will say that they are also offering in-person outdoor fitness classes, and their spaces are open with limited capacity as well. So a few other things, we do have health presentations that we can come into organizations and present about. So similar to this, we can come into your organization or class and talk to people about different health topics. We offer health behavior messaging to encourage students to have those healthy behaviors. We have the virtual health hut. The message on there changes out every 2 weeks, again, to support students in making healthy decisions. Additional online resources and information that you can refer to at any time. Then overall, we aim to have a pretty strong social media presence, again, to try and reach students in different ways. And so we're on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can find us at UF Gatorwell is our handle there. And we'll put a lot of messaging, and that's also how you can find out what events we have coming up. So even next week, we have some events for the Great Gator Welcome Back. So you can check out our social media and our website for that information. So a lot of resource review. So when you think about your toolbox, what might you want to add? What is something that you've learned about? Maybe it's a class at Rec Sports or listening to the podcast from the CWC. Maybe it's heading to our website and scheduling an appointment for a consultation or wellness coaching. But just think about what you might want to add to your toolbox. What resources are going to support you in your wellness as you head through graduate school? A few other wellness tips to keep in mind, really focusing on those relationships, those nourishing, energizing, positive relationships, making time for those and prioritizing them, aiming to let go of that self-judgment and comparisons. You're going to do the best you can. You are doing well to be coming to school here. You deserve to be here, all of those things. Not being afraid to set boundaries with others. This is something, I'm one of the wellness coaches with Gatorwell. So this is something I've seen quite a bit with students, is that there are so many great opportunities to take advantage of. It can be difficult to say no to some of them or setting those boundaries. So my recommendation to you is to determine what your priorities are and say yes to those things, and don't be afraid to say no to what you don't have time for or what is not a priority for you. Next one is to think about that energy management, having those intentional choices for rejuvenation and intentional choices for your actions, right? If going out with some friends at 10 o'clock at night is going to mess up your next day and not give you the energy the next day to do what you want or need to do, then maybe it's a chance to rethink that choice. Aiming for that consistent quality sleep. For young adults, the National Sleep Foundation does recommend 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night to perform at your optimal level, and aiming to be as consistent as possible with that sleep. So heading to bed between the same 1 to 2 hour time frame. So maybe 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. is your time frame to go to bed. And then you have a 1 to 2 hour wake time frame, if you will, and aiming to be as consistent as possible. So maybe your wake time is 7 to 9, bedtime is 11 to 1. And the more consistent you're able to be, the better quality sleep you're going to be getting. Time management, finding or remembering what works for you to manage your time well. If it's a planner, if it's a Google Calendar, if it's a whiteboard or a big wall or desk calendar, helping you, again, prioritize things and keep track of deadlines. And I'll also encourage you to plug in some of that guilt-free time, some of that time to practice self-care, which we'll talk a little more about in a second. Making sure you're getting moving, checking out Rec Sports, or just prioritizing that. It will also help with your academic success. And then fueling your body well with that healthy eating. So a lot of these you all have probably heard, these are mostly reminders, right? So those fruits and veggies, making sure you're getting enough water, some good protein to help you stay focused and fueled throughout the day. Okay, so we've talked through some more tips and resources, and I wanted to just touch on wellness and a pandemic, right? It's been an interesting 10 months or so that we've all been living through, and we recognize that, especially as students, your experience is going to be impacted by some of what's been going on with the pandemic. So I am curious what you maybe have noticed that's been impacted with your wellness throughout the pandemic. Um, so you can just kind of reflect on that a little bit. And I have a few ideas based on what I've really observed during this time with the students that I've been working with. So some of these things you might have noticed in yourself or in other people. Stress maybe has changed or has been impacted, especially with the uncertainty of so many things. Sleep, maybe sleeping more than usual or sleeping less than usual if you're worried about a lot of what's going on. One thing I noticed in talking with students is that their sleep schedules changed. They, especially if you have asynchronous classes, right? You can do those things later in the day. So then you stay up later at night, you wake up later the next day, and that's really impacting your overall sleep schedule. Next thing I've noticed or heard a lot about is around procrastination. Oh, I can just push it off, you know. And then also the motivation piece as well, just feeling more burnt out, feeling not as motivated about things that you're usually motivated around. And then that social connection piece has definitely been impacted with social distancing and not wanting to expose the people that we love and care about. So trying to be creative with how we do that. So if you've noticed other things, this is not a comprehensive list, so that's definitely possible. So based on what we've been experiencing with the pandemic and how it maybe has been impacting our wellness, these are a few tips to keep in mind to help support you in your wellness as you start graduate school and also are working on moving through a pandemic, right? First one is to be creative. Find those ways to stay connected. Find ways to work on your wellness. It might not be the scripted wellness tips that you've heard quite a few times probably, but just really being creative and finding ways to focus on that wellness for yourself. Also find ways to build resilience, dealing with the ups and downs of what might come your way. And one thing that can help you with that is to practice that gratitude. So again, maybe having a gratitude journal, thinking of one or two things that you're grateful for each night. That's something that I've actually done over the last 10 months. And I do think it's really helped me stay more positive and really focus on the good things that are going on. Next one here is pretty important, is to consider your influencers. I've seen this quite a bit where students are very influenced with their environment. And this can be the environment, the physical environment, right? So is your desk cluttered, especially if you're going to be spending a lot of time on Zoom or maybe in your bedroom, if that needs to be your office as well. So really being cognizant of how your environment impacts you, that physical environment, if it's cluttered or if it's noisy, and finding ways to adapt or address that. Other influencers might be distractions. So phones, roommates, friends or family members that keep distracting you or interrupting you. So think about those influencers. Those, I guess, were kind of negative ones, but you can also think about positive influencers. Who are the encouraging people? What can you do to find or create that motivation for yourself? And how can you find ways to overcome maybe that procrastination as well? And think about what's influencing your procrastination. If it's a fear of failure, if it's comparing yourself to others, really trying to consider those influencers and finding ways to overcome and address those. As I mentioned earlier, ask for help and use those resources that we've gone over. And be sure to remember self-care. That's a lot of what we focused on today, is what you can do to care for and really respect yourself and what you need. But also remember that community care. You're going to be meeting some new people in your classes and in your programs. And community care is about caring for and respecting the needs of other people. So maybe it's being the one to start a study group. Maybe it's the one to organize a conversation with your advisor if you all find things that you're struggling with. So that community care aspect is really important too. And You can definitely share, or we'll see if we can share at the end, maybe if there are things that you have found that have helped you as well. These are just a few tips. So beyond that, I encourage you to find your quarantine, just that small group that you can do social things with, but that you're kind of on the same terms with what you're comfortable with. Staying connected, staying informed, knowing that guidelines and things might be changing. So just really stay on top of that as much as possible and follow those guidelines and recommendations. So with all of the things we've gone over, what might be one thing that you plan to include in your self-care toolbox? It might be a resource, it might be an activity. What would you like to include? What's going to help you focus on your wellness as you go through graduate school? Exercise and gratitude, great. Finding the right person to talk to, yeah, that's important. Yeah, finding someone that you're comfortable with, that you can feel or be vulnerable with. This is really what I'm going through. Calling your parents, yes, they'll appreciate that. Yeah, gratitude journal, great. Okay, we'll let some of those answers keep rolling in. I see a lot of exercise. Maybe some of you all can get together and organize like a workout buddy system or something like that, because that accountability piece can be really helpful as well. Yeah, painting and sketching. Yeah, being creative. Okay, great. You all have some wonderful ideas. Keep those things in mind. Plan for it now, right? Put those things into your schedule so that you have them available and ready to do right off the bat. Okay, so I'm trying to be cognizant of time too. So when we're practicing wellness, when we're trying to take care of ourselves, there can be barriers or things that get in our way. And it's important to think about those ahead of time so that we are able to address them and overcome them if or when they arise. So we want to think through barriers and then also solutions. So on that handout, there is a section for barriers and solutions to help you think through those. So with that, one thing to keep in mind is, right, overall, our perspective might be, okay, I know I want to do these things. I want to focus on these things. I think, especially with New Year resolutions, right? I'm going to do all these great things, or I can focus on school. I can graduate and really focus on academics. But really, we want to do those things and graduate. And ultimately, we need to do those things to graduate. If we're not eating well, if we're not sleeping enough, if we're not staying connected and reaching out for help when we need it, then we're not going to be able to graduate or do as well as we would like. So hopefully some of the tips today have helped you to think about how you can do both, right? You can do those things to help you graduate and do as well as you can. So last question here, what would be a barrier? So as we've thought through ways to work on your wellness, ways to focus on that self-care, what might get in your way? We'll see if it cooperates. If not, we'll just move on to the next one. Give it a couple more seconds. Okay, we'll just move on. I apologize that didn't work quite as well as we were hoping. So there can definitely be barriers. And like I mentioned, you want to think through ways you can overcome those solutions. So a barrier might be not having enough time to practice self-care or work on your wellness. So a solution might be breaking it up. So maybe I'm not going to go for a 45-minute walk or run in a day because I don't feel like I have time for that, but I can commit to a 10 or 15-minute walk every day or 4 days out of the week, right? So again, just making realistic solutions for yourself. One other thing that can get in our way is not allowing ourselves to engage in wellness and to prioritize that for ourselves. So on the handout, there is also a permission slip. to give you that support and that encouragement to say like, no, I give you that permission. I give myself that permission to take that time and to prioritize that wellness for myself. So overall, I encourage you to keep that list of wellness ideas nearby, that toolbox easily accessible. Use those resources that we went over today to support you in your wellness. That's what we're here for. We are here to encourage you and support you in your academic endeavors and help you stay as well as possible. So definitely reach out. And we can take a few questions, I think, Matt, if we have time for that. Just a few reminders, take care of yourself, be well so that you can do well. We do know that as you take care of your wellness, it helps with your academic performance as well. Use that toolbox and go Gators. So let me see if I can look at some.
Yeah, and we do have time for some questions if anybody would like to type questions into the Q&A box.
Great, thank you. Yep, I see some answers from questions already. Ooh, that's a good question about accessing rec sports for dependents. So through the student health fee, current UF students have free access to rec sports facilities. Family members, dependents do not, but you can sign up for a membership fee. Good question. Yep, and you can always head to their website for more information as well. All right, any other questions? Yeah, even if you live off campus but are still a current UF student and are paying those student fees, you would still have access to the rec sports facilities. Good question. And I will just throw out there, rec sports, using the facilities is free, taking part in the fitness classes, that's all included in the student fee, but they do have some additional services that there is a cost to. So again, check out their website for more information because they're also putting any updates that are COVID related on there as well. All right, well, I want to be cognizant of time, so we will go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to go ahead and just move on to my last screen. I think it's just a Gatorwell information page, just to let you know where you can find us in the Rights Union. We are on level 1. I like to say we're only 100 steps from Starbucks. We are neighbors with the Career Connection Center as well, so definitely come see us. And then sign up for any services that you're interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and then Matt, if there's anything else.
I want to thank you, Jen. This has been great. I particularly like the reminder. I know we spend a lot of time talking about the range of resources available, but the idea that securing time for wellness and for identifying the things that work for all of you is really important at a time like this. So I appreciate that how embedded that is in what you share. It's nice for us to hear as well. So I'm glad we're able to share at the beginning of the semester. If you do have questions and you're not able to reach Jen directly, certainly feel free to contact us as well. We're happy to direct you to her or to Rec Sports or other related offices if we can help as well. But we are out of time, so thank you again, Jen. And I want to thank you all for joining us. We have one more session today. but hopefully we'll remain in touch and keep wellness a priority. Thank you all, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.